of 3. Are you ready? You look safe, don't you? Right, big inhale, loosen up. Just get all of those bad vibes off. Right, inhale.
Nice to be here in this fucking basement. This is like what I imagined they'd do to boost morale after a nuclear war. Look at you in the front row with your smart clothes on and your quite rugged face. You look like a lumberjack who's turned up to the funeral of another less careful lumberjack. It's a good face though, mate. It's better than my face. I wish I had your face. I asked my girlfriend recently, right, what her favourite part of my face was, and she didn't answer immediately, which was a problem. But then when she did answer, she went, "You know how no one likes mince on its own?" But then when you put like tomatoes and pasta in it, it's kind of good. That's your face. I've got a bolognese face. I don't mind my face. I had a bigger beard than this until recently, right? I shaved it all off after 5 years of having a beard. And then after a sort of brief adjustment period, my girlfriend, when I say brief adjustment period, you should read that as genuinely mistook me for a burglar. After a brief adjustment period, after 2 hours of seeing me without the beard, in the middle of a film when we were being silent, she turned to me and went, "You know, Jake, I don't think I like your actual face." Awful thing to say. She is just getting her own back though, right? Because at New Year, I pissed her off a bit. She went to bed early because she was tired. I stayed up and drank approximately 7 bottles of wine. And I went to bed, and she was already in bed, and I woke her up, right? I sort of shook her awake, right? And I went up to her, and she told me this the next day. I've got no memory of this, but apparently I went like this, right? I went, "Laurie! Laurie!" She was doing that thing where she pulls the thing over her, and she's like pretending not to be awake. She was going, "I was going, Laurie." And she went, "What?" And I went, "We should solve mysteries together." She was like, "The only mystery I want to solve is the case of why the fuck I'm with you, mate." I love the fact that you've sort of gone, "Oh, this woman's gone, okay, rest of the room, yeah, you fucking deserve it." It's fine. That was like sort of the worst of my drinking. I do drink, I like to go out for a drink. But I've done those things where, you know, I don't go on big nights out anymore. I used to go on those kinds of things, you know, where you go to clubs and people would be drinking things and you didn't know what they were called. Like, my mates would come up to me at the club and they'd be like, "Jake, I'm absolutely smashed on straw pedos." I don't know what that is, guys. To me, it sounds like a scarecrow that touches children. I've done that thing on the... Have you ever done this when you come back from a night out on the next morning, you look at your phone and you've saved a random number in your phone that you don't recognise, and it's always saved with a name next to it, like Fit Blonde from Weatherspoons. Something like that. I know that's an oxymoron, but... Well, I did that a couple of weeks ago, right? I came back from a night out, and the next morning I looked at my phone. I'd saved a random number I didn't recognise, but I'd saved it with the name Wolf Brother. No idea. And then I got a text 3 weeks later from Wolf Brother, just one word, it said, "Assemble." I would like to go out drinking with my dad a little bit more, but it's kind of hard. I haven't inherited my dad's alcoholism. It's just a coincidence. But we don't get on all the time. He's a sort of working class Geordie bloke, right, and I'm a sort of liberal artsy type. I describe it as a Billy Elliot relationship. In that he doesn't like it that I do this for a living, and I don't love him. He heard me do that joke at the Edinburgh Festival, laughed louder than anyone else in the room. So that was depressing. An interesting man, my dad. He's disabled, right? He's got a thing called claw hand. He had a brain hemorrhage in his 20s, right? Don't just laugh at the phrase claw hand, man. I mean, it's fucking funny, but I didn't ask you to laugh at that, right? He's got it's his real name, it's his genuine medical name, it's called claw hand. It means his hand stuck up like this. He had a brain hemorrhage in his 20s, he lost the feeling in the right side of his body, he's blind in this eye, gets his words and that confused sometimes, right? He's fine, I mean, he's obviously not, but he is, he's fine, right? And he's a little bit embarrassed by the claw hand. Sometimes he tries to hide it by putting it in his jacket pocket, right? But that means that everywhere he walks around, he thinks he's hiding it. In reality, he's just got one half of his jacket up in the air like this at all times, wandering around like a spasticated bat, right? And I've checked and I am allowed to say that. I am allowed to say that because that is the technical term for it, and also because I am also disabled, right? I'm partially blind or partially sighted, depending on your outlook on life. When I was growing up with my dad, right, and when I say growing up with my dad, it was Newcastle. When I was growing up and my dad was also there. Our next door neighbour used to refer to us as Spaz 1 and Spaz 2. Which is cruel, right, isn't it? But what I don't understand is how I became Spaz 1. Makes no sense. But he gets into trouble sometimes because of his disability. He's the only man I've ever met who's managed to cut the end of his thumb off without noticing. This is a true story, right? What was happening, he was in the garden, he was sawing up some wood, right, holding down the wood with his claw hand, they can't feel anything in. Bit of context for you, he didn't need the wood for anything, that's just what he decided to do with his time. So he sat there in the garden, holding down the wood, he went through it with the saw, and he didn't realise he'd gone through the top of his thumb, until he went to wipe some sweat away from his brow. And then the thumb moved into the line of sight of the eye that could still see. And he went, Jesus Christ, shit. And then he ran through the house going like this, Judith! Judith! That's my mum's name, he's not got Tourette's as well. He went, Judith! Judith! Look at this! And he was dead happy with himself. He's a positive person, my dad, a kind of thumbs half full kind of guy. Mum was like, Jesus Christ, Paul, what have you done? Oh, we're going to have to go to the hospital, right? My dad doesn't like hospitals, but they went because my mum's in charge. And when they were there, my mum was sat there in the waiting room worried, going like, oh God, what if he has to have surgery or something? I've got it on good authority that my dad said one phrase, and that phrase was the phrase, Judith, if we get home and someone's nicked that wood, person he is. The second time he cut his thumb off, because it happened twice. It's more macabre, right? We don't let him use power tools because he once set fire to our shed with an arc welder. So we don't let him do that anymore. But he decided he'd flaunt this rule one day. It was a couple of years ago, well, it was quite a while ago. I was at school, my brother was at preschool, my mum was at work. He decided he was going to sand down some doors using an electric belt sander, right? So it's obviously not a good situation to be in. I didn't know anything had happened or gone wrong because no one had rang me at school. So the first inkling I had was when I got home from school that day and my front door was just wide open. I walked in and my dad was nowhere to be seen. He wasn't responding if I shouted his name. All I could hear was a sort of faint buzzing noise. And followed that through into the back room. And there, my dad was nowhere, but all I could see was a belt sander, still plugged in, buzzing away, down through the carpet, down to the floorboards, and then I looked at the wall and it was covered in blood. It was like the house had stigmata. I was terrified, I didn't know what was going on, but then I realised my dad had tried to leave a message to let me know what had happened, right? Unfortunately, the only thing he could find to write the message with was one of my brother's red crayons. And you remember, he's not very good with his words and that. So I learned about the fact that he cut the end of his thumb off by seeing a scrap of paper plastered to the wall with a bloody palm print, which only had half a thumb, so I knew it was him. And it just said the phrase, "Your dad has gone away." You guys have been absolutely lovely. I've been Wolf Brother.